In this final session, we're going to look at the last 4 reasons we believe our habits or addictions are important. And we've looked at the first 4. And hopefully by now what we're really finding out is really a smokescreen. The addiction is causing the very need. And we're using our habits and addictions to stop. And so let's look at some others. It makes me socially acceptable. And you can imagine someone that thinks that. They feel awkward. You know, a lot of times stress and trauma in our life has caused a dysregulation in our brain. And we need help with that. And the trouble is, a lot of these chemicals and stuff can seem like it's a problem. You know how many people I've coached and helped that started when they were around 10, 11 years old? And a lot of them said, you know, when I took my first drink, I felt, I'm normal for the first time. You see, we have neurotransmitters in our brain, and alcohol affects all 5 of the major neurotransmitters in our brain. Nicotine affects all 3. I mean, most of your pharmaceuticals don't do that. Wellbutrin and a few handle 3, but most of them only deal with 1. So these chemicals seem to work at first. And if we've had dysregulation of the brain because of trauma in our life, and we're believing all these lies about ourselves, like I'm no good, you know, no one loves me, I have to please everyone, I mean, you know, or else I'll die, right? I mean, when we believe these lies, when these things are happening, they cause a need in our brain, a dysregulation. And sometimes these habits will really help relieve that. But it's a false relief. It's a false belief. And many people feel deep in their heart they're not socially acceptable. They have trouble meeting with people. And when they take that substance or when they do that habit, all of a sudden they're feeling like they're the life of the party. And, you know, the fact is that's a common misnomer. Many of us experience peer pressure, especially when we are less mature and unable to stand on our own merit with true confidence. But we can overcome that. And we can get the kind of help we need to help us feel better about ourselves, to know who we truly are, and to get to a place where we feel more socially acceptable. But we'll never do that if we're constantly relying on our habit to fake us out. You know, here's the question. Do we really need this to be socially acceptable? Do we? You know, multiple studies about the psychological effect of drinking, for example, have revealed significant observations. One study utilized a video camera inside a bar and showed something amazing. Half of the customers were served the alcohol they ordered, and the others were unknowingly served non-alcoholic beverages. And the behavior of those that received non-alcoholic beverages, now that's without knowing it, appeared to be the same, ongoing, engaged, happy as those who were under the influence. And that's because in that environment, we've learned how to be socially active and happy. We feel acceptable. There's a camaraderie there, right? None of those people at that point needed the substance to provide that for them. Socialization is not artificially produced by substance. It's a learned behavior. Substance may have at one time helped you feel more sociable and give you that gumption to go try it. But the truth is, you have not needed it for a long time. You can do without it. In fact, good nutrition, exercise, sleep, some counseling, and healthy relationships will be more effective and dependable at helping you with your social abilities than any substance would ever be. Well, how about this one? It relieves boredom. And boy, I'm telling you, a lot of us are lonely and feel bored. But boredom is the result of a high arousal that cannot find an outlet. It combines with an inability to concentrate. The final piece of the boredom puzzle is a lack of control over our situation. And so we have a lack of control over our situation. We have this high arousal. We can't concentrate. And it causes like a daydreaming scenario, which is perceived as boredom. It forms a painful agitation that itches to be relieved. And then in comes our addiction. We can escape through that habit or addiction, and our boredom seems to go away. But think about it. Our habits set us up for boredom. It agitates us, right? That high arousal. It causes us to lose our concentration on anything else. I must scratch the itch, right? And it takes away your sense of control. I must have it. I must have it. The boredom you feel actually comes from the rebound withdrawal. Your addiction doesn't solve the original problem, the original boredom. It only takes care of the artificial one. It does not cure the situational boredom you may be in. This is not boredom. Often it's a lack of social planning. Your addiction isn't relieving boredom, it's distracting you through what seems to be boredom. If you stop the habit and addiction and we get to the other side of it, we can reschedule our time. We can take care of some of those situations that seems like it has us under its control. We can do things to overcome true boredom, but we'll never get there if we constantly try to relieve it with our habits. Well, how about this one? It lets me numb out to relieve emotional pain. Now, who doesn't want to escape occasionally, right? I mean, we feel sad, all of a sudden we feel depressed, we feel upset. That's the purpose, though, of a vacation or other times away from work. However, addictions are much more frequent than that. By indulging in your habit, you're really escaping from the pressures of life through that addiction. We're escaping the dopamine flush that tells us we have to have it now. When we give into our addiction or habit and succumb to its numbing effect, we relieve the relentless dopamine-based pressure, and I can't overemphasize that enough. After the fact, though, we often experience what? Hopelessness, self-loathing, shame, and guilt. And this too, then what? Causes us to want to numb out all over again. But it's not the solution. Why not stop? Get the help we really need and get our life on track. Then we'll enjoy those planned, relaxing, and re-energizing activities that come with a habit-free life. Now here's one, and we don't want to admit this, but it makes me feel cool. You know how many times I've counseled people and tried to help them overcome an addiction, and yet they have on like an outfit? I mean, really, seriously. The person may, they look like, there's something out of the 60s, and they're trying, they've got this outfit on that makes them feel cool. Or maybe it's, some other kind of look. But there's no doubt that our media has portrayed that drinking, smoking, taking drugs, other kinds of habits, overeating sugar, right, that is cool. Billions are spent on advertising, which has successfully planted an image in our mind. But it's far from reality. Even in sugar, look at the cereal commercials for the children. I mean, you're really cool if you eat that sugar-coated cereal, right? It starts in infancy. It's from what we wear and how we act and look. We are manipulated into a state of mind about how ourselves and how closely we fit the lifestyle model that the media presents. The truth is, addiction or these habits, it's slavery, and there's nothing cool about it. Ask yourself, would you really recommend it to your children? Would you really recommend where you are right now to dear friends? To people that you love? It may have felt cool when we were a teenager, because we wanted that peer acceptance, right? But many of us begin it, and then, with that countercultural, with a cool kid vibe, but then we become enslaved. And it isn't cool any longer. It's not taking us where we need to be. So here's the fact. We have a choice today. We have a choice today. And you have to decide. The question is, do you want a solution to the problems that really are bothering you or not? You have to decide. Your addiction is not fixing anything. These habits aren't solving any legitimate problem. Really, drugs, alcohol, they impair the part of the brain that makes you feel anxious, and at a higher dose can even alleviate the fear circuit. However, it's a fine line to cross. It's easy to fall into exactly what you've been trying to avoid. And as we discussed, the impairment from using drugs, alcohol, sugar, all these things create an even worse scenario in which inhibition is gone and the door is open to uncontrollable behavior. When tolerance and dependence become a reality, you set yourself up for trouble. So here's the point. Your habits are creating the issues that you started to take them in the first place to solve. Now they're solving the issues by themselves. It really isn't solving the real deep, heartfelt needs that you have. The main reasons for your participation at this point in time is due to the habits that you're doing. And the answer then to why I can't stop is you can. You can. There's no reason to continue. And when you stop, you'll find the reasons will go away all by themselves. So why not decide to stop today? And for more help, you can take our class on changing habits. You can get our book, The Habit Challenge. You can find a counselor. You can get into a program. If you're really in a serious addiction, then get into a detox program and get into a 28-day program. Make the decision to stop. You are worth it. Your life is worth it. You can do this. And so I hope that you'll start eliminating some of these false reasons and start ticking them off and say to myself, I don't need this anymore. I can and I will shut every door.